Guys,
Don't say hi, guys.
don't
Now
say
you can say
now
hey,
I can
guys.
say hello. Hey guys.
Hey, guys. Look, I'm pleasant like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I got dust all over me.
You looks like you might have been doing a little tiny bit of sanding on that charger.
Well, Ron has been here a couple of nights, and he did some work on night, some detail work. Detail sanding around little things and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's coming along. It should be done. Well, what is it? Was 2023?
2023.
Yeah. I've
25?
probably got maybe like 12, 15 years left, you figure?
Yeah.
I should see it roll under its own power at some point.
Very good.
Okay, who we got? Bill McKeisko. What's happened to Chris Greenaway? You're not the first, Chris. Bill
Almost.
was the first.
Almost.
Eric's Garage. What's happening? Territory Novanot.
Jacob
William Kavanaugh
from Pittsburgh.
Who's from Pittsburgh?
Jacob Brickner.
Yes, he is. What's
Yes.
happening, Jacob? Or Jacob, as he says. Jacob. Fubar. It's Fubar the Axe.
Fubar.
We're all safe now. And look, we've already got 9 thumbs up. That means 9 people approve of what we're doing so far.
Okay, it must be the Chevrolet logo on the shirt.
You do have a Chevrolet.
I do, and a Mopar, and a Ford, and
Oh,
a
look at
Cadillac.
that. You've got everything on
I got
there.
everything.
What's it? Classic Restoration Services. Where do you get that?
That's my Kiwi buddy. He's got a shop in Quirky in New Zealand.
I thought that was your nickname. Pukekohe.
Pukekohe, not Pukekohe, and
What?
bloody heathen.
Well, I'm an American, and it says Pukekohe.
Pukekohe.
I puked the Kohe. All right. Carb cheaters, any takers? It's an interesting concept. Controlled vacuum leak. I like it. I mean, I don't see any downside to it.
What did you do with the Miata? They got scrapped, didn't they?
Oh God, a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
I plotted that thing out like over a year, like way over a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
It does, right? I've been in the shop. This is 2.5 years now.
Gee.
Right? Jeez. Man, it's hot in here. It's like literally, this is like what you're used to, the heat. Where you come from is like volcanoes and lava flows. And,
but it ain't as hot as here, I'll tell you.
No,
that.
really?
No, this is hot, man.
Well,
Stevie B, my Hearst Oldsmobile, is ripping up the street. Well, that's very good.
That's nice.
That's cool.
Chris Greenway, Tony, questions. Are the 72 through 74 Ford heater cores the same between Torino, Montego, and Cougar? Well, knowing Ford, there's probably 14 different heater cores that fit in that range. And they'll change it every month depending on the color of the car and whether it has the power ashtray option or not.
Johnny and Tony Kiwi just watched the latest video, your latest video. How the hell did that white Mustang ever drive? Well, I never drove it. I never actually even saw it while it had an engine in it. So, but it did drive. It was, he'd driven it a little bit, the owner, but not much. And
I hope he was wearing a fire suit. A 2A20 fire suit.
He did
20 pounds of hail on.
There you go. Yeah, you were sweating me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I had the fuel car.
Yeah.
I used to worry not about being on fire. That never really fazed me. I worried about having to refill the fire bottles. Elon was like crazy expensive, and like every time I got on the car, I resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to burn to death before I set off the bottles.
Don't put me out. Yeah, please don't put me out.
Let's see. It's stalled.
Oh.
Power ashtray. Yeah, well, they had stuff like that, man. That's like Lincoln Mercury sort of stuff. What happened?
I don't know. Miss Carol, hello.
Froze.
First time tuning in. Been daily driving my 460 F250 with a Horry 4-barrel for a couple of months now.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Very good.
What year is it?
Yes, well, I was about to ask that. You beat me to it.
Well, I bet you were
110 in Arizona now. Ah, man. No thanks.
Wait, it's only maybe, I don't know, like
what's it, 90?
89, 90, like that, but the humidity.
Yeah, but the heat in the building, it's hotter than outside by
Yes, it is. By a good margin.
Yeah, I think we should maybe set this table up out on the lawn.
You want to roll it outside? I mean, the problem is the guy mowing his lawn over there.
Well, yeah, it does make it a bit noisy.
Yeah.
Johnny and Kiwi, how do you have that discussion with the customer where the car is just a wreck? Yeah, they're not.
I'd like to know that too.
They're tough. It's a tough conversation. You're bringing them bad news, and
well, I've had the conversation with customers You know, like where they bring in the car and it smokes a little bit, and you tell them, well, you know, it's because it broke a piston. You know what I mean?
Right.
So okay, we go. So I've had that conversation countless times.
Right.
But how do you tell somebody that, like, literally the only usable part of the car is the roof?
It's tough. Yeah, they don't usually see it quite as hysterically as you do. But, you know.
Oh, Mr. Jones, it seems the paint on the roof is the only usable part.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can't save it.
Yeah. Everything's savable. Everything's savable. You just got to want it. Yeah, that one's not a good example of a Mustang. It's a good example of one where someone got caught, you know, and.
Well, this is what we do with our blems. We use them as rags around here.
Oh, I see.
Oh, need a sweat rag? I'll get you one.
No, I'm not. Well, I am sweating a little bit. But, you know,
Well, Kiwis don't have sweat.
It's not raining off me like it is.
When they get hot,
That's why I'm a little further away than usual, because like if he shakes, there's going.
Oh, if I shake, yeah, it's like he's about to take a shower.
Yeah.
I'm an Italian. We sweat like crazy. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting, really. It's true about us being oily. I leave a film everywhere I go.
Terratone. Tony, I've noticed doing mechanical work for others where the cost of parts almost double is higher than the labour costs. Yeah, it's funny. Like I look back over, you know, you go into the computer and look back at you know, how your year went and stuff like that, and it's amazing how many times the cost of parts is almost the same as the cost of labour. Whatever you buy in parts, it'll cost you that much again to get them fitted.
At least the stuff is still available.
Oh yeah, well, that's right.
I'm pretty sure it's going to start becoming. It's going to get harder and harder to get specialty parts like, you know, stampings, floor pans, and whatnot. In fact, I was just talking to. I was just talking to Steve Magnanti, and he's doing an early Dodge. He's got a '62 Dodge, and he got the last set of floor pans for the early B body.
Yeah.
You know, they're done.
They're not going to make any more. Just not the demand, I guess.
I guess the amount, the cost and everything involved in it is just not worth the volume.
Now, William Kavanagh, hey Kiwi, why did you leave Australia for New Zealand? Now, I'm not sure whether that's a wind-up or a legitimate question. I'm a Kiwi, man. I did live in Australia for about a year.
And he admits it. See, that's the thing. He openly admits it.
Yeah, but no, I didn't leave Australia for New Zealand. New Zealand is home, and I mean Tennessee is now. But yeah.
Which is better, Tennessee or New Zealand?
That's a tough question. They're so different.
Which is better? Which is cooler?
For my passion, for my love, which is the old American car, yeah, it's better here. It's cooler here.
What about like socially?
Socially, no, that's not. Yeah, I mean, with the exception of you, of course. You know, it's a given.
The exception to everything.
It's a little tougher. It's been a little tougher on my wife and kids, to be fair.
Really?
Because like I open up the hot rod shop, and you know, every guy that walks in there you have a common interest with.
So they have no common interest with regular people.
It's a little tougher, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I can see that. I would be friendly to them.
Oh yeah.
You can bring them here if you want.
Well, Murray's been here.
Yeah. Bring the kids too.
Yeah. She watched you nearly fall out of your car.
Do you have any pets?
No pets. Not anymore. We did it, but no more pets. No more pets.
Well, I would be friendly to them. I'm silly that way. Okay. Let's see. Okay, you read one.
Eric Dale, good evening, gentlemen. Doesn't matter how you install a distributor, which side you put the vacuum advanced canister, Pontiac, drivers, or passenger side. Over to you, Tony.
I mean, generally speaking, it depends on does the canister fit, you know. But now you have to realize you have different rotations of engines. Just because the distributors in the back doesn't mean that they all rotate the same way. So the vacuum advance canister is going to face in different directions. Like a Pontiac faces a different direction than an Oldsmobile. Is that right? I don't even know. It could be. But the point is, there's different rotations among those. So that's going to depend on really on what side the canister fits. The canister generally points to the front of the engine.
How to eliminate, this is a good one for you, Tony, how to eliminate the ammeter gauge wires that come into the car's Mopars. Looking at my 72 Valiant, which is a 72 Dart.
How to eliminate them? Okay, the main wire okay, so the circuit goes like this, right? It goes from the battery to the solenoid, from the solenoid to a fusible link, from the fusible link to the bulkhead connector, from the bulkhead connector to the voltmeter, from the voltmeter back out to the ignition switch, and then around to the alternator. That's the circuit. So you would have to eliminate it. I don't know what kind of gauge. I guess you could just run a volt gauge instead of the amp meter. But you would just eliminate it at the okay. Pull out the fusible link spade, in the bulkhead connector, and connect that directly to the alternator, and that would eliminate the gauge.
Years ago, I'm Matthew Booth. I went to my local community college and got 2 associate degrees, one in automotive technology and another in diesel technology. Sad part is I still can't seem to get a job. Yeah.
Well, where are you?
That may be part of it, but I know, like, at the other end of my building, there's a company called RES, which is, they do all the old cars as well, all the mechanical side of things, and they, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they tend to stay away from people with degrees.
Yes.
Because they don't have the hands-on experience. They had a guy in there that knew automatic transmissions, like inside and out, backwards and forwards. You could tell him exactly how it worked, what survey we did. Whereas Randy there, he knows how to take one apart and put it back together, and it works. He doesn't know all the ins and outs of it and why you need 3.5 bar of pressure at this thing.
Right.
But yeah, they had a guy out of a tech school, and it took him a day and a half. He knew how to fix the transmission, but it took him a day and a half to get it out.
Well, also
out of a rear drive.
I was going to say the book smart guys do everything by the book, the way you're supposed to kind of do it by the book, but in the real world it doesn't work like that. So there are always shortcuts and steps that you take that only come from experience. So you can have somebody who knows all the information and knows all the proper procedures, but he doesn't know the quick in and out, and that's but a lot of it I think depends on where you are, because there's parts of this country that are like economic wastelands. So if you're in like rural Missouri, it's like there's just no action. Here in Middle Tennessee, we're booming. There's just stuff happening all the time. It just depends on where you are in the country or in the world. Some areas doing great, some areas are in the toilet. So
yeah, you may need to sort of consider. I mean, obviously there's a lot of factors go into a decision like moving town, moving state, but you may need to. Well, it's just getting on that. What do they call that wheel that the hamsters run on?
Hamster wheel.
The hamster.
Well, in this country we call it the hamster wheel. I'm sure in your country you call it a pukeaholic or whatever. Yeah, you
must just go somewhere and get on that hamster wheel and start getting some hands-on experience, and then that's when your degrees will come in handy.
Yeah,
because you'll have some technical knowledge that quite likely some other people you might be working alongside don't have. And if you can meld the two together, then you'll have a good future.
So there was I think the guy's name was Tony Robbins. I'm not sure. He was like
motivational.
Yeah, he was a motivational speaker. Okay, so I guess I got the name right. Yep. But I don't pay any attention. I don't need motivation. I have tons of motivation. But there was something that the guy said that stuck with me, and it's so important, especially like in your situation. And that's it. In the bigger picture, right? Knowledge is nothing, right? Action is everything. So you can have all the knowledge in the universe. You know every nut, bolt, washer, clamp, procedure, spec. You know it all. but unless you actually take the action and put it in your hands, it means nothing. So you want to be in this business, you need to, it's the action. It's get out there and do whatever you can do, wherever you can do it, to get your foot in the door. You know what I mean? And then the rest goes from there.
John M. Apparently he asked you on Sunday night about replacing Cleveland 2-valve intake.
Oh yeah,
with aluminum 4-valve intake. Yes, I would put the original valley pan back in. Yep, I would. It's because it's a 4V intake, but it's made for the 2V heads. So yeah, I would put that back in.
Click that.
Oh, yeah. There we go. What would have an HP 440 in 77?
Let's see. I mean, New York, any of them could have had, any of the B bodies, the full-size B bodies, any of the full-size cars could have had an HP 440 in 77.
74 Charger. Kiwi is the owner of that fastback Mustang taking legal action against the seller. No, like I hear comments like that, and I've heard them multiple times along the way as we've come across cars similar to that, and it's just I haven't come across anybody that's done that as yet. Being aggrieved, and obviously, like he's been shafted, but trying to prove exactly who did it, getting a timeline on it is very difficult, because everyone will be pointing the finger at everyone else. So it becomes a very hard thing, and you can spend a lot of money chasing. Often they just want to put it behind them. They go, okay, I got caught. And people do. It'll happen through your life. You get caught, and you just got to put it behind you and move on. It's a shame people can't bring these people to task, but it just doesn't seem to happen. But
well, we do. I mean,
yeah.
We obviously don't name names every time, right?
No.
But the point is, we showcase this sort of thing so that you guys know. You know what to look for. At least. Yeah. If you have a friend, somebody mentions to you, hey, I want to go buy a Mustang, I want to do this, you can go along using the stuff that you see on these videos that we do, and at least go look in those areas. It's like, so in that part, this is, to that extent, that's really the only action you can take. Rescued and Restored Garage says 77 through 40s are just found in motorhomes. That is not true. There was you could still get it in cars and trucks until 78, motorhomes until 79.
In high performance one? Were they making them high performance thing?
Well, yeah, see, high performance just means that it has, okay, so if you go back to the Magnum days, it meant that it had high compression pistons. If you go post Magnum days, it means that it has a windage tray, it has valve springs with a damper. What else is there? Windage tray, valve springs with the damper, and something else, but I don't. Oh, high volume pump. I don't remember if there's anything else. There's probably something else, but I'm old and half my brain is gone.
Tavo, how you doing, bud? Yeah, that is from my buddy's shop. It's Steve's shop over in Pukekohe. Yeah, classic American restoration services. So that's good dude, talented too.
Nick Bruni, is changing trans fluid and filter on a high mileage Mazda a bad idea? What do you think that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Dodge truck, it's a 6.7 Cummins and the 6-speed whatever transmission was in it. We did the 100,000 mile oil transmission change on that. It has never been right since. It takes a long time to pick up gears when it's cold, when it hasn't been started all day. You'll just sit there, you put it in reverse and just nothing happens, nobody home.
Right.
And you give it 15, 20 seconds, clunk into gear, and it's just never been right since we changed the oil in it. And all that came out of it looked fine. Like it wasn't black and burnt and horrible.
Did you use the right fluid?
Yeah, use the right fluid, use the Mopar filter, and that transmission has its own little oil, looks like a little baby oil filter. Right. It's not just a little flat kind of bit of rag that they stick on the fan. It's actual pressurized oil filter. But no, it's never quite been right since then.
See, the old street wisdom backs up what he's saying, but I never really understood why. And that was once transmission fluid has become burned, once it's got a smell and it's turned brown, if you change it, if you flush it out, you change it, you put fresh in there, the transmission won't last very much longer than that. And that was the wisdom, like you go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, that once it's turned, you don't ever want to change it, just leave it alone, add to it. And I don't know why that is. But that was the prevailing street wisdom for the longest time, and people swore by it, and it was just the way it was, And people would bring me, you go way back when I was regular mechanic, and people would bring me a car and the transmission fluid's all like smelly and burned and everything, and I would tell them, leave it alone. Just don't change it. Not because I had any direct evidence to tell them, but that was the prevailing wisdom of the day. But why it is, I don't know.
If you want transmission problems, a Ford DCT won't disappoint.
There's all these new transmissions are just they're ridiculous. It's insanity. Jay Malone is saying, I think because worn clutch material is suspended in the dirty fluid. I don't know about clutch material. I think the clutch material is if you've got it's caught up by the filter. Clutch material is caught. That's why transmission pans, the transmission filter is that way, because it's to catch all of those little pieces that are expected to go through the system. I honestly don't know.
In Blue LC, what's up, Tony? What do I need to do to change my Chevy Caprice Classic 89 305 from TBI to carburetor?
An intake manifold, the carburetor, and
what's the deal on the smog on that era? That's something I'm just not familiar with. We never had smog engines in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, that would be old enough that unless it's in California, it shouldn't matter.
Right.
You need a lower pressure fuel pump. You need a fuel pump that's going to put out 5 pounds, between 5 and 7 pounds of pressure, a carburetor, and an intake manifold, and just swap it all over.
Now, Seth McFulton, there's a metal adapter for those spin-on filters. The plastic ones sometimes fall out. That's exactly right. That did happen on my transmission. It was playing up so bad that we went back in, and that filter was laying in the pan, and we put that metal adapter in, and that certainly helped. But it's not what it once was. It's really not.
Unfinished project is saying change your fluid and filter. Don't think twice. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm telling you, I don't know what the reason for that is. But like I said, that was the prevailing old wives' tale, or prevailing street wisdom.
Hey, Kiwi, was that 2x4 in the Mustang's quarter panel structure? There was a piece of 2x4 in the trunk that I'd been using, but it wasn't anything to do with.
It wasn't structural.
No. That was just, I guess, in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was just happened to be there. Need metal wheel speed sensors cause a lot of issues in today's transmissions. I can imagine that.
Minko, do you smoke weed? Do you smoke weed, Kiwi?
I don't.
Wow. See, I shoot it up. I shoot up the weed. It's crazy, right? But that's how I do it.
I mean, I'm not all against it or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I have. Coming to the States, that was something we had to steer well clear of, because until you get your citizenship, they can ship you off at a moment's notice.
For a drug test?
Well, I mean, just if you get caught with it, even like a little misdemeanor, it's like, see ya, you're out of here.
So that's when you laid off the dope.
Yeah, it wasn't worth the risk, I swear. And we had young kids at the time and stuff like that. So someone was asking about 302 Do I try and hot rod my 302 that I already own, or do I look for a 351? Depends what you're trying to do, man. What you're trying to get out of it. You know, you can help the 302 quite a bit. The 351 is quite a bit bigger. Another 50 cubic inches.
But it's not that much more bang for the buck, honestly. You
Right.
can get a lot out of a 302.
Oh, 302s can absolutely scream. The thing to remember with the 351, it's about an inch taller, the overall height of the engine. So if you're trying to keep it underneath the hood of whatever it is you're putting it in, that may be a factor. The 351 has a different intake manifold. You know, there's some differences that you know may affect your decision.
Glenn Nickerson says, I would think keeping company with UT would get you deported. Well, yeah, until he got his.
I've got my citizenship.
He's got his citizenship, so he's cool to hang out with me now. Yeah.
You can't get rid of me now.
Let's see.
That was an interesting exercise, going and getting sworn in. You've got to go and sit a little test to get your citizenship.
Yeah.
Like they test you on history and politics and.
Yeah, I helped my friend Simon. He was a Chinaman back in New
York.
Oh,
okay.
And he helped him get the.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. But we went down there, you know, to get sworn in, and I swear, Mari and I were the only English or first language English that were there. We were the only two.
Simon he owned a Chinese restaurant around the corner from my coffee house.
Right.
And we became friends and stuff. And but he really didn't speak any English, so I would have to like act out the questions. Crazy, but he got it.
Yeah. Mrs. Kiwi was pretty upset about that because she spent weeks like studying.
Right.
Like they give you a CD to listen to. You know.
Yeah.
She spent weeks, you know, studying that because she's so fastidious, you know. And I'm like, oh, I'll get to it. So we had to drive to Memphis to do the test and get sworn in. So I listened to the CD from Nashville to Memphis and nailed it. I just listened while I was driving, just listened to the CD, and it was like.
I mean, it can't be that complicated there.
Oh, it's about, you know, former presidents and
right.
there's all.
Yeah, I remember there was the three branches of government. That was the one thing.
Yeah, how many congressmen there are.
Right. Yeah. Stuff that really has no bearing on, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose behind it is, but hey, you gotta play the game.
Tavo saying should try the Aussie citizenship test. 90% of those born here wouldn't pass it.
Yeah. Well, 90% of them are Australians, aren't they? So
I bet you there's only a small percentage of Americans that would pass.
Yeah, actually, that would be true.
You know, you guys, you're car people. You know what I mean? Like car people are generally a higher intellect than the average. I mean, the average person is kind of more like a jelly donut than a functional human. I'm sorry to say it, but it's like it's true.
Mm. Curtis Randolph's asking about a 305 and a 350 Chevy. How can you tell the difference? I don't think you can. Can you really?
Yeah.
Running numbers?
No, there's no external differences. Yeah. You could just look and say, oh, 305.
The seller and the sticker say 350. My pedal feel says 305. Well, that's.
Yeah, I'd be looking for numbers on the block.
Yeah.
And it's an easy number. I don't remember where it is, but it's stamped very clearly. Oh, cast. You know, it's raised letters, raised numbers. 302 or 305 or 350.
Chris Cadman, has Kiwi ever smoked tires? Yes. I've actually.
And you come down on me for smoking cigarettes.
Man, I got a picture of when I was about 19. I had a Buick Electra hardtop, two-door hardtop, with the 425 nail head in it, and I won a burnout contest down at a hot rod run down by one of the mountains, and you can just see about 18 inches of the front fender, and this is a Buick Electra, so it's like 20 foot long.
Yeah.
It was just, you could not see the car except for this little bit of front fender poking out.
Well, as soon as that thing is out of here, the Belvedere comes over.
Right.
And I told you, you got all,
car?
Yeah, you
right.
Burnouts to your heart's content.
There you go. If you can keep the tires coming, I'll keep it going.
Oh, I got plenty of stuff to melt.
Kiwi, ever worked on vintage Land Rovers? No, I haven't. Very popular in Australia. I would have thought they'd be a bit fragile for Australia. The Outback's pretty rough. I always thought the Land Cruisers were the go-to vehicle for Australia. But I do remember. I mean, I worked at a British Leyland dealership way back, and it was amazing how many axles they sold. They were forever snapping axles, the old Land Rovers. Maybe they've overcome that now. I mean, I'm going back a long way.
Halfway decent vehicles. What was it? Just go back a little bit.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Opie and Anthony or Howard Stern.
Opie and Anthony is only fit for people who have been in comas for a long time. So if like you were in a vegetative state for, let's say, 15 to 20 years, you could come out of it, and I think you'd find them funny. Howard Stern at one time was the greatest. He was absolutely the greatest. I remember Howard Stern when he was the local DJ in New York City. So it was like before he was like Howard Stern. And he was fantastic. He was the greatest. And then something happened to him over the last like 5 or 10 years, and he should rot in fucking hell. But that's, yeah.
Scott James, how many fast cars use John Deere High Guard as tranny fluid and also just plain tractor hydraulic fluid? I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, they use just regular hydraulic fluid.
Oh, yeah.
Which is all transmission fluid, like traditional ATF. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's just hydraulic oil that they add a couple of friction modifiers to, or whatever science, they add a couple of science things to it. But
because it's very aggressive, isn't it? Like it's a quite caustic almost, ATF.
Caustic? No, but it's a solvent.
Yeah, like it'll melt shit. I guess caustic was the right word.
Yeah, but I had a friend of mine years ago, and I mean like in the 80s, who was a truck driver, and he was in New Jersey, and he used to deliver to refineries. And his main thing was transmission fluid. So he would deliver these loads of the base oil that they would use. And I remember he told whatever the base oil was, I forgot what it was. It was something number mineral oil. And that's what all of these refineries used, was the manufacturers used to make transmission fluid, but it was all based on that same oil. And that same oil was used as just hydraulic fluid without the dye.
Huh. Okay. There you go. Detroit pizza rules.
Jets Pizza does rule, man. Jets is awesome pizza. I got to tell you, their 8-corner pizza is like off the chain. I mentioned that we were doing a live. We were doing a Hemi. When we did that Hemi GTX in here, and we were doing a live where we get the thing started and running, and somebody from Jets was watching the live. So we had like maybe 8 guys here, 7 or 8 people, and they sent over a stack of pizzas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Michael Semenoff, you mentioned an IH in the Mustang YouTube. Anything good? The Scout. It's a Scout 2. I think it's a 1972.
It's pretty cool. It's a little roachy.
Scout 2. Yeah, it's a little roachy, but it doesn't want to run, does it?
No, it's a little stubborn.
Messed with it a little bit today, and we kind of got it running, but not really.
It was running.
It was running.
Really.
It wasn't drivable, was it? It ran, but it wasn't drivable.
No, it needs further inspection.
Yeah,
I think it jumped a tooth. I think the timing
on the timing chain. I think you're probably right.
Got to get a valve cover off.
Yeah.
Confirm.
Yeah. Got to get it pushed inside out of the sun. It was melting today working on that thing.
Such a lightweight. John M., either of you have any experience with gear vendor overdrive systems? I'm sure he does. He's familiar with every aftermarket system there is. Ask him. Go ahead, gear vendor.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of experience with the gear vendor's overdrive system. What's the question, bud?
We'll wait for him to come back.
Tavo, I love the international scouts. Didn't see a lot of them here, but they were sold in Oz. Don't get to see any now. I bet you don't. No.
William Kavanaugh, Tennessee pizza, scary stuff. Brother, man, you have no idea. We have pizza. The pizza here is as good as in New York or New Jersey. We have anybody who had half a brain in their head got out of New York and New Jersey and came down to Tennessee 20 years ago and 30 years ago and started making pizza here. We have fantastic pizza all over Middle Tennessee.
Okay, we got a couple of what do you call those?
Which? Oh, super chats.
Super chats.
Oh, look at this. Well, thank you. Same guy? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reaver 390 FE for a 73 F100 street track. Thinking about a 445 stroker. I'll be honest with you. I'm not familiar with that. Like, you got to be a little bit.
I don't know that combination.
The 445.
What did he say now? Yeah,
445 stroker. Yeah, I'm not sure what the stroke and rod ratio kind of look like on that. You got to be a little bit careful not to go too long, like too short in the rod. You go with a short rod to get the longest stroke in there. The engines get a bit harsh. They don't really like. There is an ideal rod ratio.
Shorter rod ratio gives you more bottom end torque. Longer rod ratio gives you better geometry, slower piston speed, and better high end power. I personally, I'm not a big RPM guy. I like grunt, so I prefer longer stroke, shorter rod. But the general wisdom is longer rod. But
you go too long. You go too long with a rod though, and then you end up with the piston stalls out at the top of the combustion stroke. It's just not moving very far because it's such a long. It needs that angle to pull the for the piston to drive down again quickly.
Right. Well, the longer the rod, the less angularity in the early degrees of crankshaft rotation, and angularity is what's pushing out on the crank. So you have a short rod, it's got extreme angularity early on in the stroke, and it's shoving the crank in the direction of rotation. That's where the grunt comes from.
But you go too much, and then the rod gets such a severe angle on it, and wants to just break.
Well, think of it this way, right? Short rod gives the motor mechanical leverage. Long rod gives the combustion chamber priority.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, like 445, 390, that might be a little big. I'm not sure. I'd need to look up, look at the specs on it to give you an informed answer. But more cubic inches can definitely be good. They tended to be, fairly long stroke, small bore engines anyway. Okay, thinking of installing a gear vendors in a 71 Cougar 351 2V with FMX. Car has a 3.0 gears. It's high RPMs on the highway. Is there a better solution?
You think 3.0 gear is a high RPM on the highway?
3.0 is fairly tall.
Yeah. Unless you're maybe if you're only accustomed to driving modern cars, that would seem a little excessive. But trust me, I'm going to tell you, 3.0 with the 351 Cleveland. Remember, these engines that we deal with in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, were literally designed to run all day long at like 3,500 RPM. And it seems like it's crazy now. It seems like,
they never cruise down the interstate at 1,800 RPM. Like they just didn't happen.
Yeah, they cruise down the interstate at 3,000 RPM. And that's really what they're designed for. And that's where the power is. That's like where their maximum efficiency is. That's one of the mistakes a lot of people make. They'll take an old school engine with all the old school technology, and they'll drop the RPM like crazy, trying to achieve like that same kind of. My Roadrunner, my 73 Roadrunner is like that because I have an overdrive trans in there. And you would think on the highway, it's 340. You would think on the highway, it's loafing along at like 1,600 RPM at 70 miles an hour in fourth gear, that it would get great gas mileage, but it doesn't. It gets better gas mileage in third gear at 70 miles an hour with the motor up in the 3,000 RPM range, because the engines just were not designed to. You see what I'm saying? Like they were designed to operate in a certain environment. So unless you're going to change all of the operating characteristics of the engine, you're best off letting it do what it was designed to do. And a 3.0 gear with a 351 Cleveland and let's say a 26, 27 inch tall tire, that's perfect. That's what you want.
Yeah, if I was, I have to agree with Tony on that one. I mean, a lot of the times those cars had like a 280 gear, and the 3.0 gear was like a lower performance gear. So it did have a little bit more revs. But but I wouldn't have called it high. Like if you put a 370 gear in there or 373, and then it would start.
Yeah, that's high.
Then it would start to rev, and that's when you need an overdrive.
Now, on the other hand, if you want to just throw some cash at this thing and have something really special, right? Go with a 410, 430 gear, and then put the gear vendor overdrive in there. And now you're going to have something that's going to like absolutely rock in first and second gear and give you that comfortable cruise.
Yeah.
But the combination of an overdrive and that 3.0 gear is going to make your car very unhappy in that 70-mile-an-hour range.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit dull, be a bit lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would instead of the gear vendors, that concept is from an era that was pre 4-speed automatics and lock-up torque converters. Yeah. It's a very old-fashioned idea, and it still has some popularity. But in all fairness, a more modern 4-speed auto with a lock-up torque converter is going to give you better results, less complicated results. You know, moving it, locking it in and out of overdrive, and messing around with it. I'd be tempted to go with a 4-speed auto and lock-up torque converter.
David Bird says gear-driven timing sets on International Harvester V8s.
Oh, really?
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. There you go. I knew I came here for a reason.
There you go. Yeah. This is.
Well,
thank you for that knowledge.
Huh. I believe it's a 304, David, this particular engine. So that still applies? Question mark. Kiwi, cleaning up my 95 F250 and pulled the plastic vent shades off the door frames. What's the best way to remove the double-sided tape without hurting the paint? Yeah, a lot of patience and a lot of wax and grease remover, just to soften up the glue, and then you just got to scrape it away with either like your thumbnail or a hard plastic squeegee. That's
use like a hair dryer, like a lightweight heat gun.
Yeah, that could work. I've had more success with wax and grease remover. Just soften the glue up enough, and then you can kind of scrape it off, and then like scrub it with a rag and more wax and grease remover. It's a pain in the butt. They're really not. You can get little stripping wheels that will take off that kind of stuff, but that's around the edge of a hole, and you catch the edge of that hole with your stripping wheel, and your stripping wheel will just evaporate before your eyes. And it just lays it off, and it's like shit.
What's going on, Harry? He's just installed the heads onto a 400 Ford. Congratulations. See, Lorraine Explains this is talking about connecting rods. Yeah, shorter rod also looks at piston. Yeah. Piston slap is my friend. If it's not piston slapping, I'm like, I feel I failed.
Well, you got to remember, it's for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction.
I build the loudest engines. My engines are loud. Yeah. Right? You know, they'll sit there and clack. But have you ever heard the way that thing revs?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't heard it run ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
I'll start it up.
Okay. Well, here's a treat, team. You get to listen to it's a 440, isn't it? Yeah. We get to listen to the 440. Why do Kiwis drive on the wrong side of the road? We don't drive on the wrong side of the road. You guys. I don't think they can hear us at all now.
Don't blame the throttle on that. Now keep in mind, it's ice cold and it's not even a choke on it. Sorry, guys. I got to show them something. I got to prove a point. How's that for throttle response?
That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good.
Okay, that's ice cold, no choke.
It's not volume, that's for sure.
Right, you feel the way that motor just snaps, just bump like that. That's because I build them loose.
So did you build that motor?
Kathy built that motor.
Kathy built that motor?
Kathy built that motor.
That's very cool.
It's a 40 over block with 30 over pistons.
Huh.
So there's an extra 5 thousandths piston and wall in there.
Yep.
And the pistons are in backwards.
What is the deal with that?
It reverses the offset.
Okay.
It gives so there's a geometrical advantage. Have you ever felt an ice cold 440 snap the way that thing does?
No, it's pretty impressive, I must admit.
Yeah. That's why I do what I do.
There you go. Proof's in the testing, isn't it?
Yeah. So piston stop is my friend. I love piston stop. If I build an engine and I don't hear the pistons going, I'm like, I did something wrong. Now, that's not to say if I build an engine for a customer that I look at. That's totally different. It's the engines I build for myself, not what I build for other people. Just like oil pressure. If I see if it idle, I see any oil pressure, I panic. I'm like, why do I have oil pressure? This is insane. So I shoot for like no more than like 3 to 5 pounds at idle on an engine that I build for myself, just enough to support the lifters.
Alan TT saw the video today, your video, that he poached from me, just saying, "What, stealing content again and all that." Seriously, yeah, he was amazed by that. But yeah, we talked about this. He's talking about if it was rear-ended, how bad it would be. It automatically made him think about the Ford Pinto fireboard.
Yep.
Now we talked about that.
We
talked about that very thing. The Pintos got hung out to dry. They had an issue, no question, but the Mustangs had the same issue, the Falcons had the same issue, the Mavericks had the same issue.
All of them had that issue. Here's
the fuel tank is the floor.
Here's why the Pinto got the because they were all bursting into flames. People were burning up all over the place, right? The Pinto got the rap that it did because you could physically see the fuel tank from behind. That's why the Pinto got singled out, because the Pinto had the same exact setup as the Mustang, as the Maverick, the Comet, all of those cars, all exactly the same. But the difference being that when you looked at the Pinto from behind, you could physically see the gas tank. That's the reason they singled out the Pinto.
Huh. Okay. Didn't know that. Tarbo's garage. That Mustang rear rail is nearly as sketchy as his workmanship. I'm sure you can do better than that, Tarbo. Come on.
John, the Pinto was a scam. The news crew lied. Well, no, it came from a lawsuit that was, I mean, it was legit. A woman, she lost her 2 kids. They were in the backseat of the car. And, but yes, then there was the thing with the news crew and all of that. That was a scam. But the actual thing that led to the lawsuit, that led to all of this, that was an actual tragedy. I know that happened.
Didn't the Pinto have the shortest tail end of the bunch? It'd be hard to be shorter than a Mustang, but
it'd be hard to be shorter than a Pinto.
Yeah, but I mean the Mustang's like just a few inches from like the back of the fuel tank is literally about 4 inches from the back of the car.
Yeah. Well, okay, the Pinto's the same way.
Yeah.
But like I said, the Mustang at least kind of flat, and on the Pinto, if you look at the back bumper, you could see the tank
hanging down
because they needed the capacity, but they couldn't go this way, so they went this way.
Mm. Glenn Nickerson, how about gas tanks inside a truck cab? What about the old Model A's with the gas tank in the cowl?
Yeah,
like right above your ankles. I was like, yeah. Things have changed, man.
The
Rescued and restored garage. I'll be getting some advice on a 71 Mustang. Kiwi, give me a call, man. I'll tell you what I know.
Okay, the Highlander. Opinion on clay barring 30-year clear that's in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. You can do it. Is there quite a bit of contaminant stuck to the paint? That's what you use it for. Clay barring is just to get stuff off the paint that is like literally stuck to it. So the clay bar pulls the contaminants off, the little bits of overspray, little bits of whatever. And that takes it off, and then that's certainly not the end of the job. From there you start buffing to bring the shine back. The clay bar is not going to bring your shine back, but it will make it smooth and nice to buff.
Orlando Romero, I rebuilt my first van motor thanks to you, Tony. Well, congratulations. I'm glad to have been of assistance.
Chris Cadman motorcycle gas tank. Well, there you go. You got it right between.
Well, that's a little different.
You got it right between the crown jewels, haven't you? Like, really?
Yeah, but you could at least get away from it and like roll around on the floor, you know, as opposed to being in the back of a flaming car. Yeah,
that's very true. Turbo 350s work best right before they fail.
Everything works best right before it fails. Orange and white 79. Hey Tony, do you know if flipping the pistons in a Buick 350 has a similar benefit as it does in a Mopars? It depends on the percentage of offset. So percentage of offset to the bore, and I don't have a formula for it, but basically the more offset there is, the more of a difference it's going to make. So I don't know the offset on a Buick 350 motor.
Mexican spec. The Pinto continues to be your favorite car, but don't tell my Fury that. No, we won't tell your Fury that. That's a Pinto versus a Fury? Oh.
So different engines have different amounts of offset, right? So there was a did you say that's more than 60 thousandths of an inch? The difference between that and that?
Yeah, it looks like, yeah.
Okay, so this is a piston from a 383 Chrysler, and the offset is about the same as on a 440. So one of the things is this guy Richard Holner did a back-to-back dyno test, and he used a 360. It was a later model 360, and it didn't have the amount of offset in the pin was 60 thousandths of an inch, which to the naked eye is barely, you're really not even going to see it. And they didn't find any difference with that 360 piston with that 60,000 offset. But here you can clearly see there's a huge amount of offset in this 383 Mopar piston, and the 440 is about the same. So when you turn this one around, there's going to be a profound effect geometrically inside the engine. So that's why some engines will benefit more from it than others. So those ding-dongs over at Engine Masters declared that oh no, it's just a myth. But the engine they tested it on wasn't really going to benefit from it. That 440 revs like a chainsaw.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions on this. There you go. Mexican spec, simplicity is my goal, and Pinto has it in spades. Well, you got me there. That's a fair comment. Yeah.
Eric Rosenberry saying the 2.3 Ford can be a mean little engine. It certainly can.
It can. Yes, it can. Tony or Kiwi, ever assemble someone else's basket case? Yes, I have. And it's a challenge when you get boxes and boxes of parts.
Him more than me, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I actually, honestly, the last basket case that I got involved with several years ago, I handed it all back. I was like, nope, this is just too much, and that was it.
Eat more coleslaw. Kiwi, if I scuff old peeling clear down to the original base coat, sand to 600 grit, and then shoot 2K clear over the old base, will it stick? And as long as it's clean, it'll stick to 600. Now, is it metallic paint or is it a solid color? Because the metallic, you can't sand it with 600. You can't sand it with anything. The base coat, it will look patchy and blotchy as hell. A solid color, you get away with it, but
patchy and blotchy are like kind of the things they shoot for. If I shoot for patchy and blotchy, I end up with better than what I usually get.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth a crack. Yeah, I personally wouldn't do it if it was metallic. If it's a solid color, then have at it. Yeah.
My paint jobs have been described as angry and childish and tragic.
Pinto was the first car my family bought me. My 63 Fury was the first car I bought. I still have the Fury. You still have the Fury? That's cool. I had a 63 Dodge 330 when I was about 17. Probably one of my first American cars. That was a cool old car. 318 poly in it.
Let's see. Terry K, 318s are a blast. A true underdog in my opinion. I love mine. It was the first I've ever messed with. I mean, I've worked on zillions of them, but there was the one in Bottle Rocket is the first one that I ever actually messed with. And yeah, I mean, I'm a believer. I'm absolutely a believer.
Jack Fleming. Tony, did you ever hear or get any comments from the new owner of the 70 Dodge Challenger Black Ghost?
You know, at the risk of being sued for slander and libel and stuff like that, I believe the whole thing was a scam and that Meckham was in on it. I don't think there is a new owner of the car. But, you know, I don't know. But I never heard, there's never been any public statements by the supposed new owner or anything like that. I believe that the whole thing was a scam and everybody involved was in on it. And that would include Haggerty's. Paul Cavazol, fire up Bottle Rocket. I don't think there's any gas in Bottle Rocket.
John M, went to a cruise night tonight, saw a satellite wagon and fell in love. Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. Those are cool station wagons. Very cool.
William Cameron, Apache and Blotchy, Freiberger and Dulcich. Yeah. Ass hats. Let's see.
60 Valiant Suburban. Yeah, that'd be a cool car. That earlier Valiant was that really odd shape, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're weird looking.
Yeah, but cool at the same time.
They're so ugly, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a lot of the Mopars were like that. They weren't they late 50s, early 60s. They were just
it's like the 62B bodies.
They're just out there as far as the body style.
Did you know the story about the 62B bodies? How they came to be?
No.
Chrysler had no intention of building a B-body car. They wanted compacts or full-size cars. They weren't looking for that intermediate.
Okay.
So they heard that Chevrolet was going to downsize their full-size cars. This was like one of them intercorporate spy things or whatever.
Okay.
So what they did was they took what was going to be their 62 full-size cars, and they shrunk them down. They took the Valiant frame, the Valiant unibody, extended it in every dimension, and then shrunk the proportions of the full-size car down to what we know today as the B-body, and that's how they came to be. But the truth is that Chevy was working on a Chevelle. They were working on an intermediate car, so it was crossed lines,
right?
And that's why those cars look as weird as they do. The 62 Plymouths and Dodges, because they were supposed to be on a full-size, but they shrunk them down and left all the little lines the same, so the proportioning is like, you look at it and it's like, oh my God,
what are we wrong?
Something happened here, you know. Paul Cabazol, did you get the new torque converter for Slag Hammer? I did, and I nearly crashed it the other night. I put it all together, right? Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Shane Polito. You rock. So I put it all together, and it was raining outside, so I couldn't like take it out and play around with it. So at the very front of the shop, there's like a 10-foot section of concrete that doesn't have any paint on it, and I use that for testing, just launch, right? So I backed the car up onto the concrete, right? Spun the tires a little bit just to clean them. Brought it to around 1,800, 2,000 RPM, flat-footed it, and the next thing you know, I'm like, wham! And I'm coming right up on Bottle Rocket. So it shot me, I don't know, about 60 feet. Like, no time flat. So yes, it's a completely different car. I mean, it's an animal off the starting line, which is what it should have been all along.
Jonathan, I don't know how to say that. Lupaccio?
Yeah, something like that.
What size bottle is best? He's thinking a 10-pound bottle.
It's too big?
Too big for his needs.
No, man, you're going to go through 10 pounds real fast.
It doesn't last long, does it, Nitrous?
No, you're going to get about 4 or 5 passes, quarter mile. If you're going to get like 4 quarter-mile passes out of a 10-pound bottle.
If you overinflate. What was that? What did he say? If you overinflate a Ford Maverick, you get a gremlin. If one ever comes across my path, I'm going to get an AMC Pacer.
I like those
Just
cars.
because they're the ugliest thing like ever.
I always liked those cars, even when they came out. I liked
Yeah.
them. They were like so weird, you
Yeah.
know?
And there's a ton of renderings out there. If you go Googling them, there's a bunch of people done renderings of them, and they actually look kind of cool. Like, you know, in my opinion, probably not yours because they blow at them and put bigger wheels
But I
on
like that on those
fatten them
cars.
out.
Yes, I know. I've seen that, and I like that on those cars.
And they look really good. I mean,
I'm not like that with every car. Most cars, I like them up like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like sitting high and alert, like because they look like they're gonna pounce on you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, there are certain cars in certain situations where I do like that slam
Yeah.
thing. I don't like the wheels like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like it. I like you know what I really like? The late '60s NASCAR look.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay, you know, down on the ground, fat all the way around, just like a little bit of a California rake to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love that look.
Yep.
Um,
BS Customs. Mustangs are plentiful and popular. Well, that's true.
Paul Cabazzola, where is he? Awesome, and he plans to get it to the strip. Yes, we were going to go last Saturday night. We had storms. Now the forecast is for this weekend storms. I can only get the dog sitter on weekends. So I'm going to cancel with her tomorrow. If the forecast still looks like it rained for Saturday, I'm going to cancel with her again for tomorrow. But yeah, that's the next thing out is to get that to the track. I cannot wait to launch that freaking car.
Here's a good one. Kiwi, please build a rotary powered Pacer. That'd be kind of out, especially with like a 3-rotor. Yeehaw. That'd be fun.
You believe yes, Frank, the passenger side door is longer than the driver's side. Now, what a lot of people don't know about those cars, and this made them.
I have heard that somewhere once before.
Yeah.
I've forgotten all about that.
Yep.
Yeah,
So you can get people in and out of the back seat.
the back seat.
Well, one of the things this drove us mechanics insane back in the day because those cars were around, especially like in New York. The Pacer was originally designed around a rotary engine.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yes, it was never supposed to have an inline six.
Huh.
But at the very last minute, after the whole car had been designed, after everything was said and done, the deal with the rotaries fell through, or they couldn't get them certified, or whatever it was, and they ended up sticking 6 cylinders in there, inline sixes. The Jeep, same engine that they use in the Jeep today, like not today, but the 4-liter, the smaller, or the 258. It was 238, 258. I don't remember, but in order to change the valve cover gaskets or do anything on that car, you had to break the back of it was insane the way they packaged this in there because the back 2 cylinders of the engine were completely buried under the firewall.
Tarbo's Garage could probably line you up with a Valiant Pacer. Yes. Hey Tarbo, have you ever seen the rotary powered Holden? I think it was an H. This is going to lose a few of the viewers, but there was an like 70s series Holden that was badged as a Mazda, and like in Japan, the Japanese market wanted a big car, and compared to Japanese cars, the Holden was quite a big car. I think it was an HG or HQ, not HG, HQ. Yeah, can't remember now. But yeah, it's quite a big size 4-door sedan, and the Japanese put one of the little wee, 2-rotor rotaries in it, and badged it as a Mazda, and it like just wouldn't get out of its own way. Like it was a big heavy car, and it needed torque, and the rotaries
has no torque.
Yeah, they're like they're torque free.
Right.
It's like low-fat milk.
It's
There's
the
just
torque,
no torque.
The torque delete option.
But they scream like they make horsepower, but they just don't make torque.
Fubar, the awesome and wondrous Fubar, put a link to our merch. So if you want a hat, you want a shirt, you want I don't even know what we sell. It's in the store though, and Fubar was kind enough to put the link there. And then of course you have to subscribe to Kiwis if you want to experience all there is on this earth as a human. One of the things you need to do is subscribe to Kiwis something or other cars and things.
Kiwi, Classics, and Customs.
Right, that one. It's all part of it. Nostradamus talked about the coming of the Kiwi, and right. I don't know about the Quatrain. You know, on the. So yeah, Nostradamus talked about Kiwi. The Necronomicon. It's
the what?
It's ancient, right? It all goes back. Sumerian texts, Sanskrit, all talk about the coming of Kiwi.
Kiwi, how were Japanese cars viewed in New Zealand when they first came out? Yeah, pretty skeptically, because we had a lot of Australian cars and we had a lot of English cars, and the Japanese, they were still suffering a little bit of this is going back a little while now, but they were still suffering a little bit of the hangover from World War II, and honestly, the quality of their cars wasn't that great, but they were learning, and I'll tell you what. They learned, they caught up, and they passed in a lot of cases. That's HJ. Okay, we'll come back to that. So the Japanese weren't universally loved. I had an RX2, and I had an old Navy. He was I was like 20, and he was an old boy. He'd been in World War II, and he just walked past me one day, and he said, "You'd never drive one of those things if you saw what the Japanese did."
No.
And he just kept walking, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
Like he was passionate, man. And I remember that to this day because he was not happy that his neighbour had a Japanese car. But Tava, the HG Premier, that's what I was thinking of. Had the rotary.
Cuda
Master
426
road
Hemi.
pacer. Wow.
Not two motors, two rotors.
Right. Yes.
Curtis Randolph, the rotary cars Cletus and Azania are building are wild cool. They scream like a fox with rabies. I have no idea about the Cletus cars, but I remember watching a clip of these Mazdas. It was like a Mazda meet. It was all Mazdas. These things were sick. They were sick. They were like 1,800-pound cars. And they were launching them at like 19,000 RPM. And just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But, it's so far removed from anything I'm capable of doing that I just have to look at it and enjoy it.
Yeah, there is something quite cool about. I rallied a couple of rotaries for a few years, so I do have a little soft spot for them. Rotary is super bad on gas too. Yeah, they were when you were using the horsepower, but it's like a turbo car. Like turbo, a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo car is quite good on gas until you're putting the boost up it, and then it's really bad on gas. And rotary's got a bad name for being hard on gas. Well, people drove the shit out of them. Yeah, but it doesn't matter what you drive. You take your old Jeep. If you drive the shit out of it, the mileage is going to go down the toilet, isn't it?
Well, it's not just that, but if you take a rotary and you drive it like a regular car, it's going to get shit mileage because it's kind of torque. So it's like you got to give it foot. You got to give it lots of foot if you don't let the thing get up and rev.
Yeah.
So
they were never going to be fuel misers, never, ever. But they made good horsepower. So for the horsepower they put out, the fuel economy was.
You didn't buy a rotary because of fuel economy.
No, but people got a bit hung up on them because they were technically like 1,200 and something cc's, which is a little engine, but they're actually 2-stroke. The rotary is actually a 2-stroke.
Not technically.
Technically, yeah. When they put oil in the fuel, just like a 2-stroke.
Yeah, but it doesn't operate on the same principle as a 2-stroke.
No, but it has a port that sucks it in, and on the same pass, it pushes it doesn't do 2 full revolutions to get a fire.
Yes.
It's firing every go round.
Right.
So yeah, they're kind of like a 2-stroke.
It will actually be like a 3-stroke. If you stop and you think about it.
Right. Yeah. Now, someone asked if I exported parts to New Zealand. Look, I have done, but honestly, like the Summit Racing and those guys, they're all set up for overseas. They didn't used to be, but you can like just go online and order stuff from New Zealand, like straight out of Summit. They've got a department that knows the right forms to fill out and send it to you, that kind of thing. It's really not hard, unless it's like this buddy of mine, Steve at Cars in Pukekohe. I found some stainless steel trim off like a 72 Ford Galaxy, which like two-door hardtop that you couldn't buy. Money couldn't buy it unless you could lay your hands on some second-hand stuff. So I knew a guy who had some, and we sent that back because you just couldn't order that from New Zealand. But honestly, like, I'm not the best guy to be trying to export parts.
Scott James is saying the Pan American Nationals at ACO will show you how badass rotors can be. I was testing with a fuel altered at ACO. This is in like 1993, 1994. I don't know, but it was like the first Pan American Nationals, and we were there with the Olsen brothers fuel altered. And that was the first time I had ever been around a fast rotary. Those things that was crazy. I will never forget that night because it was like my first exposure to that stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, here's one I need. This one I need a bourbon for. Where's it gone? Somebody just. Oh, there we go. Chris. Hi, Uncle Tony and Kiwi. What's your thoughts on Bad Chad's work?
I give Bad Chad credit where I really believe the credit is due. The guy has the most incredible work ethic, right? I mean, he's down, okay? And he's a great YouTuber. He's able to do. I can't do what he does. I wouldn't even try to do what he does. By talking his way through everything that he does and explaining every step of the way and all of that. So I give Bad Chad credit as an extremely hardworking and industrious person, and as a really good YouTuber who deserves all of the views and everything he gets. But Kiwi,
he's a hack. Yeah, he does good. He's got a whole lot of followers. Like a lot of like. He makes you look like me, but there's me, there's Tony. Well, he's in the millions.
Insulted by that.
But he's got like millions of followers, isn't he?
But I don't do what you do. I'm not a body guy.
No, I know.
I don't pretend to be a body guy.
No, but I'm just talking about the numbers of followers. It's like 12,000, 300,000, and he's like in the million or something. So he's doing something right, but that something does not include the cars.
I watch Bad Chad on occasion, just because his stuff is so like out. I shouldn't say this. I watch Bad Chad to feel better about myself. Okay, there, I said it.
There's some logic to that. He winds me up too much. I get too worked up and like start shouting at the TV.
Yeah,
it's like unfortunately, what he's telling people, not all the time, but too many times, is really bad misinformation. And the stuff he's doing is very wrong.
You don't have to be good to be popular.
Bad Chad was in the wrong on the black car he bought for 25 grand.
Yeah, I heard something about that. I don't know anything about it.
No, I haven't even heard anything about it.
They have long winters up there. And I've said, some of those things that he's built, man, holy shit. And the last Bad Chad thing that I saw, he was moving cars. And he was in a warehouse. They were in a warehouse and they were moving cars. I don't know if they were going to another shop or whatever it was, but they were like, these things were all sitting there forever. And he was trying to move a car with a jack. And it was this impossibly tight space. And the whole video was like 45 minutes, like no exaggeration. It was like 45 minutes of him moving the jacking up here, moving it out an inch, and then going to the other side and moving it and sliding it an inch and then going back to it. And he just kept going and going and going. I'm like, and I'm screaming at the TV, you just pull it sideways. Just pull the thing sideways. It'll come right out, right? But no, he's sliding it this way, and then it went forward, and then he moved it again this way, and it went sideways, and it got wedged between the front car and the wall. And I don't know.
Terry K, you haven't lived until you burned your leg on a side pipe.
I've burned my legs on everything.
Yeah. I had another AC Cobra in the other day, a really nice one. And the owner of that car, he was a little bit older, so he's having a bit of trouble getting in and out of it. And had the side pipes, and he got himself a little section of welding blanket, and like had it hemmed,
Okay.
and attached it beside his seat, and it was rolled up on a little piece of wooden doweling, and he threw it out, and it flopped over the side pipe.
Okay.
Right, so he gets out, rolls it back up, pops it inside beside the seat, and off he went. He just got tired of burning his leg. I was like, okay, fair enough. I mean, it was a good idea. It looked a little clumsy, but like it was a great idea. It stopped him getting burnt, so which kept him driving it. So that was good.
Mexican Spec, I don't blame him for making the video. Blame the people that watched it. I was one of them. I watched it.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got a point, Mexican. You do.
And you still watched. Yeah, because I'm telling you, I watch him so I feel better about myself. I think a lot of his audience does that. They watch him just so that they feel better about themselves. Let's see. You only burn your leg on a side pipe once. Wrong. Hey, I bet you those waters are cold. Would you like a cold water, Kiwi?
I would love a cold
I'm
water.
going to get us some cold water.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right. You only burn your leg on the side. No, yeah. I disagree with that one. Bad Chad needs Adderall. Neutron performance. Yeah, I mean, like honestly, that's been talked about. But the guy that Tony's got helping him on the car is doing a great job. It's kind of his project. He's helping Tony out with it, and he'll get it done. He's had a few little issues, family stuff, which that happens. I mean, I dropped off the radar for about 4 months when my folks died. I was just busy, and I just didn't have the heart for it, and I was lucky to get to work, let alone make videos. So yeah, the guy doing Tony's paint, he'll get it done, and I'm looking at the bodywork each week as he goes, and he's doing a damn good job. So yeah, I'm not getting in amongst that.
When's the race between Bottle Rocket and the Blue Thing? Very soon. Very soon. We have to just get together with their schedules.
Kiwi and Tony, which has more torque, a Husky or an Alaskan Malamute?
The Malamute.
The Malamute?
Yeah.
Malamute. Yeah. I must have, just the name sounds talkier than a Husky.
Yeah.
Husky's like one of those, like a little toy car or something.
It's a tool brand. No, I mean, Huskies are torquey dogs, but a Malamute, no. You look at the back legs on those things. It's pure muscle, all muscle. Got to have two different eyes. Oh yeah, Huskies typically have like a blue eye and a brown eye.
Oh, they do, don't they? Smoke time. Yeah, smoke time.
Okay, let's see. Bill Whitaker, question for Uncle Tony. I have an aftermarket 904 torque converter. It has a large triangular weight welded to the engine side. If I cut the weight off, can I use it on the 318? Yes, you can. The single
What are you talking about, Willis?
318 is a neutral balance.
Right.
Okay, so they use a neutral balance. Harmonic damper and the torque converter.
Right.
Later 340s, cast crank 340s, have one weight added to them.
Okay.
They're usually rectangular, but can be triangular. And then 360s have even more weight, and they'll have two separate weights. So the converter that he has originally was for a cast crank 340.
I'm with you.
So if he knocks that weight off, it'll be perfectly fine to use for the 318.
I'm with you. I get it. Fords were like that on these small blocks. They've got a 28 ounce and a 50 ounce, I think it is. But yeah, and we have accidentally mixed them up. Like we got one from an engine builder. And we had to put a flywheel on it because it was getting converted to manual. And so I rang him up and I said, "What's the balance on it?" And he ummed and ahed a bit, and he said, "Oh, it's zero balance." I was like, "Okay." So someone's like, "You can get that too, the zero balance." So we got a zero balance flywheel. It didn't come off the rack. Like we started on the rack. And
you'll know right away.
The rack was shaking.
Yeah.
The rack was. It's like, what the heck have we done?
You know right away.
Well, I didn't know. Right. Well, I knew there was something wrong right away, but it's like, what have we done? Because we'd also got the zero balance harmonic balancer as well, and it was a 28-ounce engine, and I was like, yeah, they didn't like that at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
Curtis Randolph, Triangle 1 is for the 360 Magnum. Okay, thank you for correcting me on that. You're right. You're right. This small single rectangular is for a 340. The two of them are for the 360. And I guess what he's saying is, who said that now? That would be for the 360 Magnum.
Now, what's this? William Kavanaugh, Mexican speak. Look in the comments for the Cougar post. What you boys talking about? I missed the rest of that.
Would you like to ask me any questions?
Yeah, no, I'm just reading through them. A Cougar 426 Hemi is a reconverted split window, lose any value compared to a never molested. Not really. I don't believe. Not if it's been reconverted. You're with him on what they've done. What he's talking about. The 63s were the split window Corvette, and then the 64 came out with a one piece.
Right.
Right. So the split window was a 1 year only.
Right.
And then it went to the one piece 64 to 7.
Yeah.
So lots of people were converting the 63s to try and make them look like a 64 because that was the new model. Right.
Okay.
And then
I had never heard that.
Yeah, the split windows. Then people started. They only made them for 1 year. There's not many of those. I want one of those. And then like the value went. A 63 is worth well more than a 64. But if the split window is converted back properly with the right pieces and the right trim, you will literally never know, and it could just be a fiberglass repair that the car's going to have in various places anyway. So done properly, I don't think anyone was ever going to know, let alone, and even if they did, I don't think it would affect the value, as long as the repair's been done well.
Chris Cadman. Tony should open a coffee shop with a large parking lot. Brother man, right after the collapse is finished and we go through this 2 or 3 years of like financial chaos that like we're right on the verge of, as soon as we get to the new normal or the new normal starts, that is exactly one of the things I plan on doing.
Huh. Tony, how is Kathy's Moat SS channel coming? What?
Oh, Monty SS. No Monty SS right now.
What's a Monty SS?
You don't know what a Monty SS is?
Monte Carlo?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what? So what is Kathy getting one of these?
Well, we had a couple of them.
Okay.
But I had a black '86 that she absolutely loved. This was
I don't think
back
I've
in
ever
the
seen you in
90s.
anything other than a Mopar.
This is years ago.
Right.
Back in the '90s, when I was doing a nitro thing, I needed something comfortable to like zigzag across the country with, so I bought a Monty SS and put a couple 100,000 miles on it. And Kathy loved that car. But it just reaches the end of its useful life. You know what I mean? It was wore out. You know what I mean? Just wore out. And I got rid of it. And now she wants another Monty SS.
Fair enough. Terry K. Coffee shop with Hemi pistons for the cups. That'd be
No,
nice.
I'm serious about that. I'm waiting for the collapse. After the collapse is done and everything kind of like, new normal-ish, one of my plans, absolutely, Uncle Tony's Hot Rod Cafe.
Chris Freemasser. Yeah, there they are. They're converting bugs to the split windows. And so many of those split window, those little tiny back window, split window bugs, they cut them out and put the bigger window in so you could actually see out the back of it. Now they're making later model ones that never had it and putting little baby windows in. People want what they can't have.
Right.
It's like
something that's distinctive because
a
split window that right there, like that defines the car, and it has for the last 50 years.
That would have to be the classic Corvette, I would think. There's not a better.
But it's because
maybe better technically, but
it's not the best looking.
Recognizable and like the quintessential Corvette is the split window.
Yes.
63.
But it's not that it's visually the quintessential vet. Well, I mean, you can't argue with the overall line of the car, but the split window does detract from the back of the car.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
There you go.
Well, that's why they only lasted for the 1 year as far as the styling exercise goes.
Oh, yeah, I actually think they look better.
Do you really?
I do.
See, I always thought that because the car's just got that line to it, and then just out of the blue, there's that strip that comes down the center of the back window, and it just kind of breaks it up. I've always attributed it to, and not that it's hideous, not that I look at one of those and say, oh my God, what were they thinking? Yeah. But it's not as sleek, or it doesn't really fit the character of the car the way the 64 does. But the fact that it has that distinction, where, okay, it's not just a vet, it's a split window vet, right? So it's like that's the distinction that people want, because it's like
the holy grail.
And that's where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Just because, oh, yeah, I'm not just a vet, I got a split window vet.
And people go, ooh.
Right.
It's subjective, you know. Like, I like that look, and you don't. Neither one's right or wrong. It's all subjective.
And I don't think that it's hideous. You know, I wouldn't kick one out of bed for chewing crackers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
yeah, there you go, John M. Split window is best. Next post, diesel power, split window means more dollars. That's it.
Yep.
Can't argue with either of those statements. Yeah, less practical. It was harder to see out the back on your rear vision mirror. You had this big thing blocking your view behind you. You know, a couple of years back, I had a 63 Roadster, like the convertible Corvette, with a hypo, if that's the right term, 327 in it, 4-speed. That thing would go.
Oh, they ran great.
That thing would go.
I know. They ran great.
And I had another customer with a later model one, the C3, is it? Like the 71-ish, with a 454 4-speed, and I jumped in that and thought, this is going to go.
And it doesn't have nearly the punch that the earlier one did.
The 327 smoking.
Those the 454s were calibrated soft from the factory.
Yeah, they claim on the center console it's 365 horse.
Yeah, but it's calibrated soft. Like, it has a very slow ignition curve. Like, you know, if you tune it, they'll come around. You put a super tune on it, and you get that snap-in of the early cars.
Oh, okay.
But you drive like a 63, you know, and it's like it's just sudden. They're just, you hit the gas and it's just sudden movement. You know what I mean? It's like instant, and that's just the calibration. That's the curve that they put into the distributor on those cars. Franco was saying, hey Franco, it's a styling concept. The split window was tried on a Riviera. Buick looked at it and said, nah.
Split window came from the 40s. Well, I guess it did. Yeah, a lot of them had.
Alan TT, can I ask what is your opinion of using iconic model names from the past on new cars? I think it's vile.
Particularly the Mustang SUV. I mean, that's man. You go on the Mustang forums and you just throw that in there, and then it's just like a frenzy. all the other posts have got like 8 comments, 12 comments. And you put in something about the Mustang SUV, and it's like 486 replies.
Pure hate.
God damn.
Pure hate. Pure hate. I mean, so if I was a new car guy, you know what I mean? If I was, and I'm not, right? So maybe I'm biased in this direction, but if I was a new car guy, I want a car that has its own identity, that has its own name, it has its own style, and it's not a tribute or a throwback to a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old car. You know what I mean? So. But that's just me. That's just me.
Rumor that the new ZR1 Corvette might be a split window. Okay. You heard it here on
well, there you go.
Uncle Tony's Garage.
Terry K, there is no such thing as a 4-door Charger. Well, you're right. They called it a Coronet. It's sitting right there.
Yeah, I was disappointed when that Charger came out with too many doors.
Yeah, it never bothered me. I was never. My life is too short to spend all the time counting doors.
At least they stuck with it on the Challenger, though. I thought the Challenger was a pretty nice throwback.
Um, 426, CUDA 426. I mean, Terry, There was a Mitsubishi front-wheel drive Charger. It wasn't Mitsubishi. That was Chrysler built. I had one. I had two. I had at least one. I may have had two of those cars.
Mick and I have a Camaro that has a split window. Yeah, that was from a rock, buddy.
Now you see the split bumper is a whole different animal.
Ah, well, there you go, yeah.
So if you ask me, the split bumper Camaro is like, that was the styling masterpiece of that entire line.
Volare Roadrunner, really? There was a Volare Roadrunner?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Well,
wow.
it wasn't a true Roadrunner because it didn't start with RM, which is something you have to be a Mopar idiot, fanatic, like psychopath to really care, okay? But like me, like I'm not making fun of anybody, I'm that idiot psychopath. It doesn't start with RM. So technically, really, it's not a Roadrunner, it's a Volare with Roadrunner stickers on it. The last true Roadrunner, the last RM car was the 75.
Worst car. What's the worst car name?
The worst car
Name.
name? The worst car name.
I'm sure they've dreamed up a name that was like offensive some way, and they didn't. The particular country didn't get it. There's bound to be a story.
Well,
like
there was the thing about the Nova, because in Spanish, Nova means no go.
Oh.
So that was a thing, but
the Ford boys will love that. Did you get that picture I sent you the other day about how Fords and Mopars and that guys go drag racing?
Drag racing, yeah, I saw that. Geez, I can't really think. What's a bad car name?
Well, New Zealand had the Trekker.
That's pretty bad.
Treka.
I can't. I know something will come to. The Nissan Fairlady, Datsun Fairlady.
Well, man had a Nissan Cedric.
Yeah,
Cedric.
they had. Yeah,
Cedric the Performer. These are dude on TV here, and but not a Nissan Cedric.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fairlady. I don't care how cool the car is, and listen, I like pink cars. I mean, I seriously, I got a thing for Panther pink cars. So it's not like I'm insecure of my masculinity. I would have a hard time driving a car that said Fairlady on
it. The smart car. Actually, that's a really bad name. The smart car. Well, it's not smart, is it? Like,
no, not really.
Not when there's a semi truck coming across the intersection at you. It's not very smart.
Drag Boss Garage sent us $20 for coffee.
For the coffee fund.
I'll bring coffee next time I come to your shop to steal your content.
There you go.
So I can make a very comfortable living off of your labor.
Yeah. The Pontiac Aztec. Oh, the name's not bad.
Aztec's
the car was
not
terrible. MG Midget. Yeah, we see Tony in one of them.
No, see, I like Midget. I think that's a good descriptive name for the car.
You swing your name and it was like.
Oh, okay, yeah. Olive's got a good point there, okay? Because so when the car was new, you know what I mean, 69, 70, 71, 72, swinger meant like, hip, right? It was like, and then like it changed. You see what I'm saying? It changed. Actually, it was a movie that came out at about that time, okay? So this was 1970. All right, so they introduced the swinger name in 69, okay? And they stuck with it through the early 70s. But there was a movie that came out around 1970 called Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, if I remember correctly, right? And it was about a couples that did that thing, okay? And they became known as swingers. And then from that point forward, you could never say, yeah, I got a swinger. It's like different, completely different
connotations. Thing. Tavo, we had a Holden Piazza. They were an Isuzu Piazza pizza.
Oh, okay.
Piazzza. So it was not quite pizza, but close enough. That's what they're always nicknamed. Everyone called them a pizza.
Curtis Randolph saying, I can't tell you how many people ask me why my car said Swinger. I got tired of explaining.
They introduced the Swinger name in '69.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh dear. Oh my.
Joe Wiley, GER torque converters. Your opinion. I already stalled a 2800 RPM stall and about ready to fire my 69 Dodge GTS 440 first time in 27 years. I don't really have an opinion on them. I've never heard good nor bad. I've never used one, so I don't have any personal. But I mean, 2800 RPM converter and a 440. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Kia is a sad acronym. What's the Kia? What does Kia stand for? What's
Killed in action.
Oh, shit. Yeah. No, someone brought up the probe.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. I think I blocked that one out. Joe Camucci, Joe, I'm sorry, I slaughtered your name. Remember the pastel vinyl top and interior? No, that was called mod top, right? It was it looked like a shower curtain. It looked like somebody wrapped your vinyl top and your seats in a shower curtain, and I love that. If I could find it, that was only available in 1 year, 1969. Wait, no, 69 and early 70. If I could find, please, I would love one of those cars. See, I like stuff like that. It's like it's weird. It's like over the top. I like it.
Hey, Mexican Spec, are you familiar with the old Mazda Cosmos? That's a name that just came back to me. But I saw a guy the other day on YouTube who's restoring a couple of them. Like, I think they were late 60s. Mazda Cosmos. And a weird-looking car, a little two-door sports job. Yeah, if anyone's interested, you should take it. I mean, it's a funky-looking little car. It's worth having a look for.
Throttle Davidson, man, I've had a night yanking a razor blade out of my wife's new 250 tire. Position my wheel, hit the freaking lock on the door, lock out with the flat tire, jimmied the window positioner, just finished. Well, we've just been sitting here talking.
You had a rough night, buddy. We just swirled his water backwards.
Renault Alliance, horrible car. Yes, they were.
I had a Renault Dolphin. Renault Dolphin.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Not a great car.
The Alliance. I remember doing a timing belt on one of those. This is like around 1982 or 1983. I had my shop on Richmond Terrace on Staten Island. And I was doing a timing belt on one of those cars, and I went to tighten the cam gear bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I finished the whole job. I go to tighten the cam gear bolt, and it just snapped off. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I just leaned on it, just, you know what I mean, like normal.
Yeah.
You know, and it just snapped right off. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough torque for the engine to spin.
It broke the bolt.
It just broke the bolt.
Dang. Yeah, I'm with you, Tavo. I think that Cosmo is a beautiful car. The later model ones weren't so much, but those early ones were just really out there.
Parker Russell. Oh, this is a good one for you, bro. Got general tips for merging engine swap wiring with vehicle wiring. I have both vehicle fuse box and engine fuse box. One better to use? Can I just run both? Oh, that's a bad idea. Oh God, that's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a degree in electronics, yeah, you can merge them, but it depends a little bit on what vehicle you're talking about, what engine you're trying to swap. You know, some of the systems were quite separated. You got a body control module and an engine control module.
I was just thinking that.
And some of them you can separate out, and some of them are just like, yeah.
I would definitely leave the fuse box with the body wiring, and then adapt the engine.
Mm.
Because there's far fewer connections to the engine than there are to the car. So I would work with the wiring that the car had and then adapt to the engine.
Here's a name: Nova Omega Apollo. You can't spell, you're screwed, aren't you? What type of? Right down the top of your car, sir. Sorry, no. Yeah, there was a late model Cosmo with a 3-rotor 20V. Yep, nada, you're right, there was.
Albert Bundy, any tips to figure out the early history of a 63 330 high compression aluminum front end car? Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Oddly enough, I was just on the phone. I was on the phone for like an hour with Steve Magnanti right before we came on, and I think he would be the guy to contact and ask about that. I think he would have more information on identifying that car. Although I did do a Max Wedge spotter's guide or a Max Wedge identification guide at some point during this channel's history. Google UTG, Uncle Tony's Garage, Max Wedge, and see what pops up, because they did a whole video on the where they moved the wiring harness and they added extra clip there, and they moved the emergency brake cable hangers and all. Off the top of my head, I don't remember all of the things, but look for that, and you may find the information you're looking for there. There were no differences between aluminum front end cars and steel front end cars, other than the lighter weight parts.
Kiwi, did your area get a lot of the really early Japanese cars, or did they use the States as a proving ground? Yeah, we did get quite a lot of the early. I mean, I guess it depends what year you were referring to as really early. We had a lot of Japanese cars in the later 60s and a lot even more in the 70s. That, got very, the Japanese car kind of took over in New Zealand around that point. But they were up against Ford Anglias and Morris Minors and some not very impressive cars. So the Japs came in and just took over.
Joe K. Steve Meggs and UTG Dual Live coming up soon. Yes. He's got to work on his schedule, but it'll be sometime, I believe, next week, either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday night. We'll do something with Steve.
Alan T. So saw a model of one of your cars and I wanted to know if there's any more coming out. You know anything about that?
Not offhand.
Huh.
I'm about to ditch the EFI wiring out of an EFI converted 79 Fairmont carb. Go, baby, go. Carburet that thing.
Yeah. Terry K. Morris Minors are really cool. They do have a cool factor, but like an early Toyota Corona was just a lot better car than a Morris Minor. It wasn't as cool probably, but it was a better car.
Franco, Tony, do you remember Steve Toss LSD lightweight Dodge? I know where it's buried. Dude, like, where is it buried? And like, how do we get access to it? I have a shovel. I will come to New Jersey and I will undig the car. Talk to me.
Shovel.
JP, I work in the HVAC field and I find myself in basements with relics or still in service Ford hot water heaters and GM Delco furnaces. Yep. Have you heard of this? Any insight? Yeah. All of the manufacturers were into all of that stuff. Chrysler air conditioning and refrigeration units were everywhere in the 60s and the 70s. Have you seen it? Yeah. No,
not something we got. No. We got Chrysler outboard motors for both.
Yeah. No, Chrysler was building everything.
Yeah.
It was the greatest corporation ever.
Big square white outboard motor. They just call them the fridges.
The fridge. The Chrysler fridge. GM owned fridge there. Yep. Franco, they ran over it with a bulldozer before they backfilled over it. I don't care. I don't care. Let's go dig it out.
Yeah. Tavo, Honda 600 has landed around 65. Yeah, that's probably right. Remember the old Daihatsu 360s? Daihatsu made a little teeny tiny car with a 360 two-stroke in it,
Yep.
like a motorbike engine. Tiny little thing. I guess, the smart car of the era.
Mike and Nash Metro, the Kelvinator. Well, Kelvinator was a refrigerator company that was part of that whole TNT Mopar Performance. Uncle Tony, do you have or know anyone with a set of 67 dark taillight lenses laying around, or maybe just a driver's side lens? I do not.
Chris Freemesa, yeah, Subaru did make a 360 as well, but I'm pretty sure Daihatsu did as well. Not sure whether Subaru's was a two-stroke. I'm not sure.
Made muscle. My aunt had a General Motors fridge from the 40s or 50s. One day, my uncle grabbed the handle and it shocked him good enough to put him in the hospital. I have back at the house. I have a Frigidaire drill. It's a drill. Like it's not very big. It's like a little bit bigger than a pocket. It's a small drill, but it was made by Frigidaire, and I got shocked by that thing not too long ago. I use it for if I got to drill a small hole with a small bit, I'll grab that one just because it's so handy, right? And I actually got shocked by it recently. But yeah, it's made by Frigidaire.
Can you translate Olam's post? Question?
Oh, who's where?
This one. Subaru did make a 360, but 360cc engines were Prigamil car spec, so everyone had one.
I don't know.
Okay. Come again.
Joe Camachi, did you know Broadway Freddie racing in New York in those days? Ask Franco, because Broadway was good friends with Franco.
That's my bad.
N1ROL
Anonymous.
Wow.
Anonymous.
Okay, UTF, have you ever used a Latham axial flow supercharger? I have not.
Dad used one to blow up his 57 holes of
I know they took a ton of power to turn.
Doesn't sound like that experiment ended well, does it?
No. I know those things took a ton of power to turn, but that's the only thing I know about them, and I only know that because I read it someplace, so I'm not even sure that that's actually the truth. But that's what I remember hearing about those. But no, I've never used one.
Yugos. Did you get Yugos here?
Yes, we did for a short period of time. I rode one. I road tested one, and I broke the shifter. It was a torqueless wonder. I remember winding it out, the valve float, shifting it, right? And then finally I ripped the power shift on the thing, and I literally broke the shifter off the floor of the car. Cayman Weisenbach. Thank you, sir. Hey guys, love your show. I'm looking to use a 1982 OD 833 with a 68 slant 225. Will they bolt up without any issues? The trans is from a truck going to my 73 Coronet. Yes, you won't have any problem at all with that, providing you've got the bell housing and the flywheel to go with it. Because the OD transmission has a 5.09 inch bearing cover, and the standard one is 4.65, 4.68 inch. So, and you can turn the 5.09 bearing retainer down to the smaller size. I've done it many, many times, and it works just fine. But that's something you need to be aware of. You got the bell housing and the transmission. The bell housing, the flywheel, the transmission, all together. Yeah, just bolt it right up to your 68 slant 6 and go. One thing you need to know about, you're going to put it in your 73 Coronet, so you're going to have a problem. If it's your 73 Coronet is a bench seat car, I'm assuming because it came with a bench seat. There were no bucket seat coronets in those years. So you're going to need a shifter adapter. It's a plate. It's kind of shaped like a dog bone, all right? And what it does is it raises the shifter up and moves it back on a 71 and newer B-body. You need that adapter because if you just bolt the shifter, like if you take a B-body shifter and you just bolt it into the regular position, the shifter is literally up underneath the dashboard. So you need that bracket that brings the shifter back and up and the linkage that goes along with that. And you can't use the back tail shaft mounting like the C-body, the E-body mounting would be, or a console shift B-body, because that puts your shifter right in the middle of the seat. So keep that in mind. You're going to need that bracket that comes back. I think you get them through Brewers. And then Fubar just put up the link to Kiwi's.
Kiwi Classics and Customs.
Yes. Yeah, Kiwi Classics and so yeah. So and you need to go over there and subscribe. His life depends on it. It's tragic, but it's true. Let's see. And then Fubar, the ever helpful Fubar, just put up the link to my merch. So if you want to help keep me out of the cardboard box, there's my shirts and my hats and stuff like that. And Fubar just put up the link to that stuff. Thank you.
Kiwi's Classic Creams. There you
go.
Tony or Kiwi Aircraft.
Not I.
No aircraft between the two of us, but I'm guessing he's asking if we have a something, you know,
I don't
passion
fly
for them in any way.
The last time I used to fly all over the place. I was always flying, right? And then, but I always hated it. And the last time I got on a plane, I swore it was going to be the last time I ever got on a plane. And I actually made them stop the plane at Midway Airport. No lie, right?
Really?
It was back in my nitro days, so it was a little crazy. Okay, so we had a race in Great Lakes Dragway, and they flew me in, okay, and I got on a plane to go there, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be on this plane. Let me out of this plane. Let me out of this plane. But I ended up flying there anyway. So I did the race, and then they dropped me back off at the airport, and I got on a plane. And they closed the door, and we're starting to pull the plane away. And a guy stood up, and I yelled, "Stop fucking plane!" Right, like as loud as I could. And they're like all freaked out and stuff like that, you know. So a stewardess comes over, and she's like trying to calm me down. And I was like, "Get me off this fucking plane right now. I want off." Right, and they did. They stopped the fucking plane, and they brought out the stairs.
Really?
Yeah, and they let me off the fucking plane. And I went back. I hitchhiked back to the. We didn't have cell phones back then. It was before cell phones. And I hitchhiked back to Joliet, which was where the guy, and I got there in the morning, and I bought a Chevy, a Citation, or I don't know, whatever it was. It was like a $300 Chevy. And I bought that, and I drove it home with no license plate, no nothing. And I drove that back to New York. And it was the last time I ever got on a friggin' plane.
But yeah, Chris, Kevin, if you're asking about a favorite aircraft, I love the old British Spitfires. They're just cool. Hit that again.
Wheelie King, I'm over 50 and I've never been in a plane. Been life flighted on a chopper once, though. I've never been life flighted. Yeah.
Did the plane end up crashing somebody out?
No, I'm sure it was fine. Alan Titi, thank you. Okay. Hi, you guys. I'll clarify about the models. The scratch-built scale models of Dart was on your desk. You said you had Slaghammer and Bottle Rocket at the shop. It was cool to see them. Yeah, okay, I'll go get them.
There you go. Ask and you shall receive. Kiwi's Crispy Classic Cars and Car Chat. There you go. That's a name for a channel, isn't it? You know, yeah, spicy meat banana. Grinding reverse gears must be a Japanese thing. Yeah, well, no, it's only Japanese, but every classic Japanese car I've driven grinds reverse unless you put it in fifth first. That was kind of standard procedure. It became that way, that you always put it into fifth before you even thought about reverse.
So there's
Oh, what we got here? Huh.
Bottle Rocket.
Who did these for you?
Kylie. His name is Kylie. And
oh, there's some detail in there.
Right? He nailed it. Just incredible. What killed me is I put torque thrusts on the front of the car. So the car doesn't match the model anymore.
You're going to have to change the car.
Right? But yeah, it's
That's very cool.
yeah, really fantastic. Like he nailed down every detail on the car.
And he just sent that to you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. I guess that's what happens when you have 300,000 subscribers.
This is what
Yeah.
You'll have them before you know it. Let me put these inside so they don't.
Like bottle rocket through a wheel.
Yes.
Broken axle.
You did that in real life too.
Yeah. Back to just me, guys. What's happening? Let's scoot this thing down. Quality, not quantity, Kiwi. Well, that's true. That's very true. Kiwi, is it true that the Mazda Miata was a Tron Spitfire clone? No, I'd have to say no. No. Well, I mean, it probably took a lot of inspiration from the Spitfire, but not a clone, no. I mean, Spitfire, no. The Spitfire was a tilt front. 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder cars were made. But yeah, probably did draw some inspiration from it, I would say. Terry K, we hate Miatas here with a passion. Well, we call them hairdressers' cars because only hairdressers drive Miatas.
I got a lot of kids around here that drive Miatas. They're actually pretty cool.
There you
go. Are you going to Carlisle next week? No, I'm not. Is Tony wearing pants this week? I always wear pants. If you see me, I'm wearing pants. Even if you don't see me, I'm wearing pants.
Chris Cadman, the Spitfire flew. Yes, it did.
All right. Kiwi, look what time it is.
Wow.
Listen, we've blown through 2 hours.
We have already, yes.
We've only got 179 likes. I feel bad. I think that reflects on you. That's your.
See, I was going to say I think that reflects on you.
No, that reflects on you, bro.
Really?
Yeah, it definitely. It is. I don't mean to make you feel bad. I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
No.
I'm just saying.
I don't.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm uplifting the show. That's what I do here. I uplift it and take it to that next level of intelligence.
Oh, look, see, they feel bad for you.
They've started liking it now.
Those are sympathy likes. That's not because they actually like you. That's because they feel bad now.
Went off screen for a while, and we were able to communicate honestly.
No, they're
told them a few stories.
Let's make the foreigner feel good, right? They hit the like.
See, like it's just roaring up. See, they like the stories I was telling about you when you're in the other room.
Dan Hack, how's the EV go-karts coming along? Actually, Dr. Art from Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab sent me a text right before we went on, showing me this a go-kart frame that he picked up specifically for the. So yeah, this is it's gonna get hairy, I'm sure.
Oh, this is Jason Fitch. The car model is awesome, but be afraid if he sends a diorama of your house.
Dude, you know, let me tell you something, man. YouTube is a strange place, and there are people who show up at my house. There's people who show up at the shop. They show up at my house. They stop me in traffic. It's a little weird. It's just a little bit weird. But you know, it's like that's it just goes with the territory.
Chris Cadman, Kiwi's Classic Stuff. What is the name? Kiwi Classics and Customs is the channel name and the business name.
All right. So, guys,
Both Kiwi and Tony need to say coffee. We'll
coffee.
see who the real foreigner is. Coffee.
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 There's no R in coffee.
I never said there's no R in coffee. Coffee. K-A-W-F-E-E.
Coffee.
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 K-A-W-F-E-E. Coffee.
K-W. See, this is why I have to bring in bring the level up because.
Geez, look at the number of likes now. They really do feel bad for you. You're like the special kid. They want you to feel. They want you to feel like
sympathy.
All right. Where is Uncle Crystal? Taking care of my beautiful granddaughters.
What was it? Are you good enough for heaven? Have you ever lied, stolen, lusted, cursed, hated?
Yes, all the time. Like literally every day.
Jesus has paid our fine. Well, yeah, it was a big fine for me.
I'm good with all that. I'm good with all that. Let's see.
Raining slant six. Man, I don't disagree with you. He's talking about the planes.
Oh.
About how a American-built P-47 Thunderbolt would make short work of the Spitfire. I don't know. Again, it's subjective. For me, that Spitfire, there was just a romantic side of it, and it was just, I don't know. Just some things you like, and sometimes you just do. That's not necessarily a good reason why. Kiwi has less of an accent than Tony. Can I like? Is there a like button for me here? Somewhere?
No, there's no way that you can like it.
See, I want to like that comment.
Okay. So I think that's it. Spicy meat banana. He won the name internet for the spicy meat banana. I love this stuff.
That paints a picture, doesn't it?
Just don't show up at my house. Yeah.
You're not with
just don't come to
not
my
with
house.
a spicy meat banana.
No.
Don't do that. Tony gets very nervous around spicy meat banana.
All right, that's it, guys. We are going to call it a night. I got to get up fresh, bright and early, and steal more content from Kiwi.
Thanks, Fubar.
Yes, thank you, Fubar. Thank you to our mods, Zero,
Charlotte,
Fubar, Ari. You guys rock. Thank you so much.
I don't think I've seen it, Charlotte, but I will take a look as we're off here. I'll have a quick look and see if I can spot it.
Everybody who contributed to Super Chat, thank you so much. This way I don't have to eat cat food, and we could just, it's good. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated. Everybody contributed just your presence and your conversation. Thank you equally. We love you guys. We wouldn't be doing this otherwise.
Yeah, it's great fun. I mean, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do, and I think Tony does.
Oh yeah, I honestly I look forward to these things.
Yeah, they're fun.
I don't want to do this in person.
That's the fastest 2
but
hours.
I like doing it on here.
Do I detect a South Kiwi accent? No, I'm a North. No, that'd be from you. Yeah. No, that'd be. I'm a Aucklander, mate. Aucklander.
Aucklander. He's an Aucklander.
Sometimes referred to as Dorklanders, but hey.
I like that. Look, you got 243 sympathy likes. Does 243 people feel bad enough that they're trying to elevate you? They don't want you to feel left out. All right, guys. No, we're not sitting real close. It's an optical illusion.
We can.
Come on, really. Come on. You know how I am about that. Say goodnight, Kiwi. Make
good night, guys.
Now. Make it stop.
Stop. Which one do we hit? End string. There we go. See you guys.